spotted way bigger because there's a traveling salesman who went from town to town selling fake medicine. They claimed the disease like cancer. He would sometimes be gone for months at a time, although he occasionally came home from work. His dishonesty and long absences made life unsafe for the family. Rockefeller's mother, Eliza Rockefeller, was very different. She was religious, strict, and taught her children the value of hard work, saving money, and helping others. Many historians believe that her influence was one reason Rockefeller became such a major player.
Mrs. Hadger,
Yes.
y'all are okay today, but can y'all wait until like 8:40 to come from now on?
Sure, yes.
I'm just through some practice and all that.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Let's
You're
go.
okay, you don't have to leave.
No, we'll be right. I thought we were supposed to be in here at 8:30.
From the institution teams can produce workshops, sports solutions, and model changes. All beginners religious education, military morals, will eventually evolve into the bright green individuals we are here today. Though small, toy soldiers become powerful swords of our cultures and history. Thank you. Please welcome Carter Stanton Schwab, the city of Dr. Travis.
We'd like to go. I've been here since 8 hours to get pictures together. Do you want to do pictures this morning?
By 1999, a local court was formed on and replaced with a stronger military prison. Prisoners can self-help building infrastructure. The concrete walls and steel bars turn the island into a fortress. The building was not easy because the island sat on solid rock and was surrounded by cold, rough water. Construction materials had to be brought in by boat. Prisoners in the army house their help with their infrastructure. We poured concrete, laid bricks, and built a cell house. The design was plain but strong and built to last. It also proven escape. Large steel bars, reinforced doors, guard towers, and carefully placed walkways allowed officers to see nearly every part of the prison at all times. Everything about the construction is maintained on trust, control, secure, and may also break up.
The fish may be invisible, but its impact is real. Learning more about this disease helps share understanding. So welcome to our show.
All of a sudden, hey. Is it feedback now?
Is the iPad up there or is it?
It's not.
Let me see. Greg's not here, is he? Greg isn't here. Try again, talking with me. Just like slightly read like you're reading something.
Imagine living with a disease that most people do not understand. You feel exhausted and in constant pain.
Yeah.
Usually from the outside. Imagine living with a disease that most people do not understand.
It's not loud enough. Try again, Emma.
Imagine living with a disease that most people do not understand.
You could be louder. It's going to feedback.
Imagine living with a disease that most people do not understand. You feel exhausted and in constant pain, but you usually
your whole speech. Just sit.
However, in a person with lupus, the body produces auto antibodies. Instead of protecting the body, these antibodies attack healthy tissue, causing inflammation and damage to organs such as the kidneys, joints, skin, sometimes. Because lupus can affect many parts of the body, symptoms can change over time.
You're gonna go out there.
It did.
Uh-huh.
Keep talking.
Lupus looks different in other.
I like went out. Nurse.
Make sure that mic is in front of you too, guys, because y'all, some of y'all are taller and shorter. I saw that yesterday.
Just say something. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't have to be speech.
Hello?
Say hello. I'm
Sing a song.
Sing your Easter song. Like you don't like to talk all of a sudden.
I was like, Emma, short on words, really? I said, Emma, short on words, really?
Miss Fox, if it starts to do that again, you can turn down the one that you did, because, yeah, okay. Is that the first time I did it this morning? The feedback? Okay, and I think it should be good. You'll be fine. Can you walk it over? Actually,
Is there? I've already taken a lot, but I will do, I'm gonna say speeches, obviously. But I'll take a picture of everyone at the podium, not speaking. I've been doing birthday pictures, and if you don't take one to the word, then it's just, oh, we had enough of it.
okay. Well, I'll send it to him.
Okay.
Are we sitting in reserve?
Yeah, the reserve is for us.
It is, okay.
Yes, it is. We are the reserve.
Okay, we deserve that, right? Pretty up.
Thank you. It's just so high. It's too narrow.
I hate this now.
Good morning. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together today with our families, teachers, and friends. We ask for your peace to fill this place and calm any nervous hearts. Help our students to be confident, to speak clearly, and do their very best. Bless the parents and loved ones watching, and thank you for their support. May this be a time of encouragement, pride, and joy for everyone here. In your name we pray, amen. Please welcome our first speaker, Evan Milligan, who is speaking about R.C. Fuller.
When you walk into a gas station today, you probably see Coca-Cola and Pepsi everywhere. But what if I told you over 100 years ago, a company that started right here in Columbus, Georgia, helped change the soda industry forever? R.C. Fuller's store is not just about software, it's about creativity, risk-taking, and local history. For people who live in Columbus, R.C. Fuller is a reminder that something big will start growing back here. The story begins with Claude Hatcher. He was born on August 20th, 1876. At 25 years old, he graduated from Leaville Medical School as a pharmacist. He owned 2 drugstores in Georgia, one in Dawson and one in Preston. Later, he sold both stores and moved to Columbus, Georgia, to get into the grocery business with his father. That move to Columbus would change soda history forever. After moving to Columbus, Hatcher built a laboratory in the basement of his grocery store. He began experimenting with different carbonated drinks. At the time, he was frustrated with the high syrup prices charged by the Coca-Cola company. Instead of continuing to buy their product, he decided to create his own drink. His first successful soda was Royal Crown Ginger Ale. He sold in his Columbus store. Customers loved it. Because of the drink's popularity, the Hatcher family shifted their focus to the soft drink business. They founded the Union Bottlers in Columbus. One of their most popular drinks was Cherry Cola. It became their best seller because it tasted good and cost less than competitors. The company grew quickly. However, success brought problems. Coca-Cola Company sued them for using the word cola in the name Cherry Cola. After losing the lawsuit, Cherry Cola struggled in the market, and the company suffered financially. Even though the lawsuit was a setback, the company did not give up. They introduced a new drink called Knee-High. However, Knee-High faced challenges since launching the Great Depression in the 1930s. Many families were struggling with more basic needs, and soda was not a priority. Business was difficult, and the company had trouble paying bills. In 1933, Claude Hatcher died. His impact on the city remains part of its history. After his death, H.R. Mott took control of the company. Mott made bold decisions. He eliminated poor-performing drinks and focused on making the company debt-free within a year. He also wanted to bring back Cherry Cola, but with a new name. The company renamed the drink Royal Crown Cola, inspired by Hatcher's first product, Royal Crown Ginger Ale. By the 1940s, the company officially changed its name to Royal Crown Company because Royal Crown Cola had become successful. RC products were being sold in 47 out of the 48 states. What started in Columbus basement was now competing across the country. RC Cola became known for innovation. In 1954, it became the first soft drink company to sell soda in cans. 4 years later, it introduced a 16-ounce bottle. RC also created the first low-calorie Diet Cola, the first caffeine-free Diet Cola, and the first Diet Cherry Cola. These ideas forced competitors like PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola Company to catch up. RC was not just keeping up with the big companies, it was leading in many ways. At one point, RC held about 10% of the soda market. However, problems began when the company used Sockmate as a sweetener in its diet drinks. Sockmate was much sweeter than sugar, and it helped cut costs. But the sugar industry pushed for testing, and studies claimed that Sockmate could be toxic if consumed in large amounts. In 1970, the controversy hurt RC badly, and the company quickly lost market share. During the 1980s, RC made another mistake by reducing advertising. Without strong marketing, the bottling company stopped working with them. Meanwhile, PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola Company secured exclusive deals with stores, making it hard for RC parties to compete for shelf space. The company was eventually sold and changed ownership multiple times. Today, RC Cola is owned by Keurig Dr. Pepper. Although RC is hard to find in major supermarkets, it can still be sold in gas stations and independent stores. It's also sold internationally. In many places, it costs less than Coke and Pepsi, which beats it only to certain customers. For people living in Columbus, Georgia, RC Cola is more than just a drink. It represents local innovation and determination. We began to experiment in a small basement laboratory in our city. From there, it grew into a company that changed the industry with new ideas and bold ways. Holly Patrick's decision to challenge high syrup prices led to over 100 years of history. Thank you. Please welcome Greg Stay, who is speaking about the Eiffel Tower.
If someone asked you to name the most famous tower in the world, you'd probably think of the Eiffel Tower. Where Paris is often called the Sweet Love, the Eiffel Tower is famous for much more than just romance. It is one of the most visited monuments in the world and a powerful symbol of France. Also known as the Iron Lady, the Eiffel Tower began as a temporary structure for a royal family, but it slowly became one of the most iconic structures in the world. Today, millions of people travel to Paris each year just to see this towering structure in person. The Eiffel Tower was built between 1887 and 1889 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution. It was created for the 1889 Royal Fair, which was meant to offer new technology for around the world. The tower was completed over 2 years, an impressive achievement for such a large structure. When it opened to the public in 1889, visitors were amazed by its height and design. Before the elevators were fully operating, thousands of people climbed the long staircase just to see the view properties. In the first 6 months of the Royal Fair, around 2 million people traveled to Paris, proving that was already a major attraction. At first, not everyone loved Eiffel Tower. Some audience and members saw it as ugly and didn't fit the city's classical architecture. In the first 6 months, in fact, the tower was originally meant to stand for only 20 years and then be taken down. However, Gustave Eiffel found ways to make the tower useful. He allowed scientists to use it for experiments and later radio antennas added to the top. These antennas helped the tower become an important communication center. During World War I, the tower was used to obtain radio messages from the enemy. Because of its usefulness, the tower was saved from being broken. Gustave Eiffel was often given full credit for the tower, but he didn't work enough. Engineer Maurice Copeland and Emile Bouguer predicted the original design and architecture in Sorel helped improve its appearance. The Eiffel Company proposed building a 300-meter tall tower, which would become the tallest structure in the world at the time. The tower stands about 330 meters tall today with the antennas added to the top. When it was complete, it was the tallest man-made structure in the world. Holding that title until the Chrysler Building in New York City was finished in 1930. The Eiffel Tower is made of raw iron and weighs over 7 million tons. It is held together by 2 million ribbons. Because the tower is made of iron, it must be carefully maintained. Every 7 years, workers beat the entire structure by hand to protect it from the rust. The tower was painted into slightly different colors of brown, with the darkest color at the bottom and the lightest at the top. This color change helps the tower look more balanced against the sky. Visitors can explore the Eiffel Tower while walking the stairs or taking the elevators. The first and second levels are free platforms shops basically. The top level called the summit offers a breathtaking view of Paris. On a clear day, you can see for miles across the city. The tower is designed with 4 large steps that perfectly meet at the top, giving you both straight and graceful shape. This design was not only artistic, but also practical, helping the tower stand against wind and weather. Today, the Eiffel Tower is one of the most visited monuments in the world, with around 7 million visitors each year. It has appeared in many movies, books, and photographs, including films like Bride and Cherry and Sunset and Paris popular movies. The tower is also featured outside of France, such as a small replica of Disney's Epcot in Florida and along the Las Vegas Strip. These replicas show just how recognizable and famous the tower actually is around the world. Every night, the Eiffel Tower lights up with thousands of sparkling lights. The lights shine for a few minutes every hour after sunset, creating a beautiful display across the Paris sky. While many tourists take photos and videos of the light show, the display itself is protected by copyright, meaning professional use of the image requires permission. Even without professional photos, seeing the lights in person is unforgettable and reminds visitors of how special the tower actually is. Millions of people visit the Eiffel Tower, but it's more than just a place. It is a symbol of creativity, engineering, and determination, which started as a temporary structure for a royal fair, became lasting iconic place. The next time you see a picture of the Eiffel Tower, remember that it was once criticized and now it's torn down. Today, it stands as one of the most visited monuments in the world, proof that bold ideas can become lasting symbols. Thank you. Please welcome Michael, who is speaking about the past.
Winning teams are not built overnight. They are built by great leaders. Although Duke basketball has had some success before 1980, Mike Krzyzewski and his Coach K transferred the program to a national balance through leadership, discipline, and player development. Before Coach K arrived, Duke had never won an NCAA championship. Under his leadership, Duke became one of the most respected and successful programs in college basketball history. His impact reached beyond wins and trophies, shaping how college basketball programs think about coaching, teamwork, and player development. Before Coach K, Duke has had moments of success, including several Final Four appearances, though the program was not a national powerhouse. The team was often competitive, but usually considered middle of the pack compared to the strongest teams in the country. Duke did not consistently attract top talent. The program lacked strong leadership and needed to become elite. When Coach K arrived in 1980, he began rebuilding the program from the ground up. According to the official Coach K website, he slowly built a top-rated team with players like Gene Banks, Kenny Dart, and Vince Slick, focusing on developing a winning culture over time. While Duke has had successful coaches before him, none achieved the historic level of success that Coach K reached. He took a good program and raised it to a completely new level. This rebuilding process did not happen overnight. Duke struggled with Coach K's early seasons. It took patience from both the school and the players to trust his long-term plan. Over time, his commitment to the players began to pay off. Hard work and discipline are the cornerstone of Coach K's philosophy. ESPN writer Keith Jenkins explains that many of Duke's players arrived as talented athletes. Coach K helped turn them into great players and great leaders. Coach K focused on building strong relationships with players and treating them like a family. He encouraged honesty and open communication, allowing players to speak up when they needed support or disagreement. Many former players have said that Coach K taught them lessons about responsibility, respect, and handling pressure, skills that help them succeed even after their basketball careers ended. For example, Shane Battier, one of Coach K's standout players, has praised the disciplined environment Coach K created at Duke, saying the program taught players character and work ethic that extended beyond the court. After several seasons of rebuilding, Duke became one of the strongest teams in the ACC. The program developed into a well-organized team that could compete with anyone. Even with their success, Coach K taught his players to remain humble, especially during march madness when anything can happen. One emotional example came in Coach K's final home game when Duke lost to the rival UNC. Losses like this were painful, but they also showed that even great teams face tough moments. Coach K often used losses as teaching moments, helping his players learn how to respond to failure and grow stronger as a team instead of giving up. Many legendary players came to Duke during Coach K's time. Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, and Bobby Hurley were a part of Duke's first championship team and helped establish Duke as a powerhouse in the early 1990s. In the early 2000s, Shane Battier led Duke to another championship and became known for his defensive leadership. Later, stars such as Kyrie Irving and Jason Tatum passed through the program and went on to successful NBA careers. In more recent years, Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett formed an exciting duo that helped Duke win the ACC tournament even though they fell short of a national championship. In 2022, Paolo Banchero helped lead Duke to a Final Four appearance and later became an NBA star. More recently, Cooper Flag has emerged as one of Duke's newest stars, known for his all-around scoring and defense. He's already gaining the attention of future NBA superstars. Finally, Isaiah Evans is one of Duke's best shooters who they go for a game win. Many of these players chose Duke because of Coach K's reputation for developing both basketball skills and character. Coach K's legacy is not measured only by wins and championships, but by the culture he created at Duke. He built a program based on family, accountability, and discipline. By pushing his players to be their best and supporting other people, not just athletes, he helped shape them into leaders on and off the court. Coach K turned Duke into one of the greatest and most respected programs in college basketball history, proving that strong leadership can truly build a dynasty. Thank you. Please welcome Sam Dickinson, who is speaking about the Cutthroat Trail.
For thousands of years, the ecosystem in Yellowstone National Park has thrived and flourished, centered around what is called a powerful fish, the cutthroat trout. The Yellowstone cutthroat trout has a rich history in the park as a keystone species, meaning many other species depend on it for survival. Cutthroat trout are fairly small compared to other trout species. They reproduce in the spring when water temperature rise high enough for spawning. Cutthroat trout, the eggs hatch in about a month, and the young trout live in shallow streams for about 1 to 2 years before migrating to larger bodies of water like Yellowstone Lake. Before 1994, cutthroat trout had very few natural threats at Yellowstone Lake. The lake is one of the largest high elevation freshwater lakes in North America. It sits at 7,733 feet above sea level and covers around 132 square miles. Because of its elevation, the lake is frozen for much of the year, creating a short fishing season. For generations, cutthroat trout were the main food source for animals such as bears, osprey, otters, and eagles. Since cutthroat trout spawn in shallow streams, they're easy for land-based predators to catch. They provide a high-energy food source that supports over 40 species of wildlife in the Yellowstone area. Because of this, the health of the entire ecosystem around Yellowstone Lake depends heavily on this one species. However, everything changed in 1994 when biologists confirmed the presence of an invasive lake trout at Yellowstone Lake. Lake trout are not native to Yellowstone and were most likely introduced illegally. What may have started with a small number of fish quickly turned into a massive population. Unlike cutthroat trout, lake trout live and spawn in deep water. This makes them harder for predators and humans to reach. Lake trout are especially dangerous to cutthroat trout because they are large, aggressive predators. A single mature lake trout can eat dozens of cutthroat trout each year. Female lake trout can produce between 9,000 and 20,000 eggs annually, allowing their population to grow rapidly. Because they live deep in the lake, they have almost no natural predators, making them the apex predator in Yellowstone Lake. As a result, the cutthroat trout population experienced a dramatic decline. Some estimates show that the population dropped by nearly 90% after lake trout became established. This sharp decline had serious consequences. Animals that relied on the cutthroat trout for food were forced to adapt. Grizzly bears, for example, began hunting more elk calves in areas where cutthroat trout became scarce. Studies showed that elk cats and harborers decline in areas where bears typically die. Ospreys, which depend almost entirely on fish, struggle to find enough food and saw nesting people on the ground Yellowstone Lake. Since lake trout stay deep in the water, they are not easily accessible to birds and mammals that once fed on cutthroat trout near the surface or streams. Park officials soon realized that saving the cutthroat trout meant protecting the entire Yellowstone ecosystem. However, controlling lake trout is extremely difficult. Because they live in deep water, traditional fishing methods are not effective. In response, park managers increased gill netting efforts almost tenfold. Gill netting is a method that uses large mesh nets placed in the water to trap fish by their gills. Crews set and check thousands of nets each year in an effort to remove as many lake trout as possible. Another strategy is known as the Jukes fishing. Biologists capture a large lake trout and plant tracking devices in them and release them back into the lake. These tagged fish unknowingly lead researchers to spawning groups of lake trout, allowing crews to target the right areas for removal. The name comes from the biblical figure Judas, who betrayed Jesus, similar to how these fish betray other members of their species. This method also helps reduce the accidental capture of native cutthroat trout. These suppression efforts have not been cheap. The National Park Service has spent over $20 million on removal, with annual costs around $2 to $3 million. However, the investment appears to be making a difference. In recent years, cutthroat trout numbers have shown signs of recovery in Yellowstone Lake. As their population rebounds, scientists have also observed improvements in osprey nesting success and bear feeding patterns in spawning streams. The effects of this issue go beyond Yellowstone. The situation shows how one invasive species can disrupt the entire ecosystem. Cutthroat trout decline affected animals, birds, and even fishing traditions. Anglers who once traveled to Yellowstone to catch native cutthroat trout were disappointed when numbers fell. Wildlife watchers also noticed fewer bear and osprey sightings in the lake. Although there is hope, the battle is not over. Gill netting and monitoring must continue to prevent lake trout from regaining dominance. The story of the cutthroat trout demonstrates how important one small species can be. It also teaches an important lesson about invasive species conservation. Protecting native wildlife requires quick action, long-term commitment, and teamwork. Cutthroat trout came close to disappearing from Yellowstone Lake forever, but through persistent effort, it is beginning to recover. This recovery offers hope not only for Yellowstone, but for other ecosystems facing similar effects. The lesson is clear: when one species is harmed, the entire ecosystem is impacted. It is our responsibility to protect these natural systems so that future generations can experience the same thriving wilderness that once defined Yellowstone. Thank you. Please welcome Gideon Jones, who is speaking about J.D. Rockefeller.
Did you know that there was once a man who had his feet supplied nearly 90% of America's world? His name is John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller became the first billionaire in U.S. history and showed that determination and smart business can lead to success, even for someone who started with very little. Rockefeller grew up in a modest home. His family often struggled with money, and he had to work at a young age to help support them. His father, William Baby Rockefeller, was known as a traveling salesman who went from town to town selling fake medicine. They claimed to cure diseases like cancer. He would sometimes be gone for months at a time, although he occasionally came home with money. His long absence and dishonesty left life unstable for the family. Rockefeller's mother, Eliza Rockefeller, was very different. She was religious, strict, and taught her children the value of hard work. Many historians believe that her influence is one reason Rockefeller became such a major figure. Even as a child, Rockefeller showed strong business skills. He was good with numbers and enjoyed finding ways to earn and save money. When he was around 12 years old, he raised turkeys and sold candies to neighbors to make extra cash. Unlike his father, Rockefeller believed in honest business. He kept careful records of every dollar he earned and saved. As a teenager, he took a job as an assistant bookkeeper in Cleveland, Ohio. working for a produce shipping company called Hewitt and Tuttle. This job taught him how businesses were run and how money moved through companies, which later helped him succeed in his own ventures. Rockefeller's first major business partnership was with Maurice Clark and a company called Clark and Rockefeller, which worked for produce shipping. With a small investment, about $4,000, the business grew quickly and became very profitable. However, Rockefeller soon became interested in a new industry that was just beginning to grow: oil. At first, the oil business was risky and unpredictable. Many people lost money, but Rockefeller noticed that oil refining could become very important, especially as kerosene was becoming popular for lighting homes. Rockefeller went on to form Standard Oil in 1870. Standard Oil focused on refining oil and selling kerosene in a safe, sealed container. This made shipping safer and helped Standard Oil gain a reputation for being reliable. As the company grew, Rockefeller used a business strategy called horizontal integration, which means he bought out and forced out many competing companies. He also used vertical integration by controlling many parts of the process, including refineries, storage facilities, and transportation. Rockefeller made secret deals with railroad companies to get lower prices for his oil, which allowed him to sell oil more cheaply than his competitors. Many competitors could not afford to compete with his low prices and were forced to sell their businesses. By the 1880s, Standard Oil controlled about 90% of the oil refining in the United States. This gave Rockefeller enormous power in the oil industry and transportation systems. His business tactics made him extremely successful, but were often criticized as unfair and harmful competition. Rockefeller believed strongly in competition, and once said, "The growth of a large business is the survival of the fittest." He was persistent, strategic, and always thinking ahead. However, many people believed that his company had become too powerful. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that his company was an illegal monopoly and ordered it to be broken up into smaller companies. By that time, Rockefeller was no longer running the company day to day, but he still owned shares in it. When Standard Oil was split into smaller companies, such as Exxon and Chevron, the value of Rockefeller shares actually increased, making it even more. Later in life, Rockefeller focused on giving his money. He donated large amounts to schools, churches, medical research, and universities. Some of the organizations he helped fund include the University of Chicago, Spelman College, the Rockefeller Institute of Medical Research, and many other institutions. Although he was often criticized for being greedy during his business career, his philanthropy helped millions of people and supported important research and education. Rockefeller left behind a powerful and complicated legacy. He is remembered as a robber baron because of his harsh business tactics, but also as one of the greatest philanthropists in American history. Coming from a childhood with little stability and money, he rose to become one of the richest people the world has ever known. His life shows how ambition and discipline can lead to success, but it also reminds us that great power comes with great responsibility. Thank you. Please welcome Ethan Richards, who is speaking about Wolverine Army.
Long before plastic armament marched across bedroom floors, tiny soldiers took part inside the ancient Egyptian tomb. Armament have had a long and fascinating history. Toy soldiers are not just toys. They date back over 4,000 years and have changed in materials, poses, and colors. From being made of wax and stone to the now distinctive green plastic we recognize today, toy soldiers have evolved alongside the Soviet team. Around 2600 to 2000 BCE, during the time of ancient Egypt, miniature figurines known as ushabtis were placed in tombs to accompany and serve the deceased in the afterlife. These figures were primarily available to people of wealth or high status. While ushabtis were religious objects rather than toys, historians believe miniature figures from ancient civilizations may also have been used to model or strategize military conflict. One famous example comes from the tomb of Masedi, a governor from around 2000 BCE, where wooden models of soldiers were discovered arranged in military formation. These models included archers and spearmen, showing that even early civilizations carefully recorded military roles and formation. If we fast forward to the 1300s, we enter the medieval age. During this time, tool soldiers were made from perishable materials such as flax, cloth, and wood, as well as metals like tin and lead. Because many were made from fragile materials, surviving examples are rare. Toys belonging to wealthy children have been excavated more often because they were made from durable materials like stone or metal. Often depicting knights and horses, these figures were sometimes used by generals and noblemen to visualize military tactics. These early models helped leaders picture troop movements before battle, much like modern-day strategy maps and simulations. Toy soldiers continued into the Renaissance, though they were still mostly owned by wealthy families. Some were homemade and made from disposable materials for simple play, while others were carefully crafted from metal or stone. By the Victorian age, toy soldiers were more refined and still largely accessible only to the upper class. During this time, toy soldiers also became collectibles, with detailed uniforms that reflected real national armies, helping children learn about world powers and historical conflicts. In 1785, large-scale production began to take shape when the Hilbert brothers, Johann Gottfried Hilbert and Johann Georg Hilbert, in Nuremberg, Germany, began producing flat tin soldiers known as flags. These figures were two-dimensional and created by pressing molten tin between two engraved molds. After casting, painters working in an early simplified system would each add details before passing the figure along. Though lightweight and affordable, the tin made them easy to bend. This early form of mass production allowed toy soldiers to reach middle-class families for the first time, not just the wealthy. In the late 1800s, companies such as Heidi in Dresden, Germany began producing solid cast lead soldiers. Founded by Georg Heidi in 1872, the company became famous for its detailed 48mm to 60mm hand-painted figures depicting historical battles and uniforms. Heidi remained a leader in toy soldier manufacturing until its factories were destroyed during World War II. Production ultimately ceased in 1947 due to rebuilding costs. A major breakthrough came in 1893 when William Britton developed holocasting techniques in England and founded Dummy Britain. Holocasting involved pouring molten lead into a mold, allowing a shell to form and then draining the excess metal, leaving a lighter, less expensive figure. This process made toy soldiers more affordable and accessible. After casting, the figures were hand-painted and sold in box sets. These box sets often represented famous battles, allowing children to recreate historical moments in play. Their lower cost encouraged children to play more freely and roughly with them. By the mid-20th century, concerns about the dangers of lead led to another major shift. In the 1950s, companies such as Louis Marx and Company began producing the now iconic plastic Little Green Omni-Man. Plastic was safer, cheaper, and easier to mass produce. These bright green figures became staples in American households and toy stores, marking a significant change from the metal soldiers of the past. Their uniform green color made them easier and cheaper to manufacture, but also turned them into cultural symbols of American childhood. The materials used to create toy soldiers have changed dramatically over time. Originally, figures were made from natural materials such as stone, wax, and wood. Because those materials were abundant and accessible, wealthy families could afford metal versions made from tin or lead. Eventually, advances in industrial production introduced hollow casting and later plastic injection molding. Each shift in material reflects changes in technology, economics, and safety concerns. From ancient Egyptian tombs to modern toy store shelves, toy soldiers have gone through many changes. What began as religious figurines and military models eventually evolved into the bright green plastic toys that we wear today. Though small, toy soldiers reveal powerful stories about cultures and history. Thank you. Please welcome Carter Stanton Schmall, who is speaking about Alcatraz.
Waves crash against the rocky island in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. Sitting in the cold water is one of the most famous prisons in American history. Hidden by the shadow of the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz once held some of the most dangerous criminals in the United States. Over time, Alcatraz changed from a bird-covered island to a military fort, to a federal prison, and finally to a historical site visited by millions. Alcatraz Island was discovered in 1775 by Spanish explorer Juan Manuel de Ayala. He named it Alcatraz, which means pelican's receiver in Spanish. For many years, the island was uninhabited. Its isolated location in the chilly waters of the San Francisco Bay made it a perfect place for something new. In the 1850s, the United States government took control of Alcatraz. During the California Gold Rush, San Francisco became a busy and valuable city, so the government built a fort on the island to protect the bay. Alcatraz became one of the most heavily armed places on the West Coast. It was part of the Triangle of Defense along with Fort Point and Long Point. In 1858, the fort began holding prisoners, which marked the beginning of Alcatraz's future as a prison. By 1909, the old fort was torn down and replaced with a stronger military prison. Prisoners themselves helped build the new structure. Thick concrete walls and steel bars turned the island into a fortress. The building was not easy because the island sat on solid rock and was surrounded by cold, rough water. Construction materials had to be brought in by boat. Prisoners who were already housed there helped pour concrete, lay bricks, and build the cell house. The design was plain but strong, built to last and prevent escape. Large steel bars, reinforced doors, guard towers, and carefully placed walkways so officers could see nearly every part of the prison at all times. Everything about the construction was meant to make Alcatraz secure, controlled, and nearly impossible to break out. In 1934, Alcatraz officially became a maximum security federal penitentiary. It was designed to hold the most dangerous criminals and inmates who caused troubles at other prisons. Surprisingly, the prison never reached full capacity. During the 29 years Alcatraz operated as a federal prison, it became known as one of the toughest prisons in the world. 14 escape attempts involved 36 prisoners. Most were shot, captured, or drowned in the icy water. 5 inmates were never found, but they were presumed dead. Famous criminals such as Al Capone, gangster George Machine Gun Kelly, and murderer Robert Stroud, also known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, were held. One of the most violent escape attempts was the Battle of Alcatraz in 1946. Several inmates overpowered guards and took hostages into the West End Gallery, an area that stored weapons and keys. They planned to escape through the recreation yard, but they could not unlock the door leading outside. Marines and Coast Guards were called to help. After 2 days of gunfire and chaos, 2 guards were killed, 3 inmates died during the fight, and the later 2 were remaining executed. The escape failed, proving once again how difficult Alcatraz was to break out. In 1963, the prison closed. It was simply too expensive to operate. Everything about the island, including food and supplies, had to be delivered by boat. The island had no source of fresh water, so nearly 1 million gallons had to be brought in. The cost was much higher than any other federal prison, so the government decided to shut it down. Prisoners were transferred to other facilities, ending Alcatraz's time as a working prison. Today, Alcatraz is one of the most popular tourist attractions in California. After closing as a prison in 1963, the island was later opened to the public. It is now managed by the National Park Service as part of the Golden Gate National Recreation. More than 1 million visitors visit Alcatraz each year. Visitors can take a ferry across the bay, and once on the island, visitors can tour the cell house, step inside tiny cells, and hear audio stories from former guards and inmates. They can also see the dining hall, exercise yard, and sites of famous escape attempts. Besides its prison history, Alcatraz is also a protected wildlife area and is home to many seals, connecting back to its original name, Alcatraz. Today, the island is not a place of punishment, but a place of learning where history is preserved and shared with visitors from all over the world. Alcatraz has had many lives. It began as a quiet island full of birds, became a military fort, transformed into one of the most famous prisons in history, and now stands a powerful historical site. It shows how one place can change over time and still leave a lasting mark. Even today, Alcatraz continues to teach about justice, strength, and the power of history. Thank you. Please welcome Emma Shaw, who is speaking about Blueface.
Imagine living with a disease that most people do not understand. You feel exhausted and in constant pain, but because you look fine on the outside, it's hard to explain what's wrong. This is the daily reality for millions of people worldwide living with lupus. Lupus is an autoimmune disease that's often invisible, making the struggle to explain the illness almost as hard as the symptoms themselves. In a healthy body, the immune system creates antibodies to fight bacteria and infections. However, in a person with lupus, the body produces autoantibodies. Instead of protecting the body, these antibodies attack healthy tissue, causing inflammation and damage to several of the organs, such as the kidneys, joints, skin, and sometimes even the brain. Because lupus can affect many parts of the body, symptoms can change over time and become difficult to diagnose. Lupus looks different in every patient. Some people feel with extreme fatigue and low fevers, while others have swollen joints and a butterfly rash across the nose and cheeks. Studies show that 50 to 90% of patients experience extreme fatigue. Because these symptoms are not always visible, others can underestimate how extreme the disease really is. Around 1.5 million Americans have lupus, and systemic lupus or lymphomatosis is the most common type. Women make up 90% of lupus patients. Living with lupus means dealing with flares, which are periods when symptoms suddenly worsen. During a flare, a patient might be in so much pain or fatigue that even getting out of bed is difficult. Many patients also need frequent doctor's visits to check for. I know this struggle personally. When I was diagnosed with systemic lupus in 2023, my life changed completely. I could not attend school regularly because I was too weak to wake up. For 2 months, I could only stay at school from 9 to 12, even though the school day lasted until 3. It took a toll on me mentally, physically, and my grades started because of it. It took 3 months after my diagnosis before I could attend school day, and even then, I still had to take breaks within the hour. I stayed in the hospital for 2 months and I was severely dehydrated. I was constantly getting fluids and was put on a low-sodium diet since sodium dehydrates the body. After I was discharged from the hospital, I had injections once a month, and I had doctor's visits weekly where I got a bunch of lab work done each week. Eventually, they had to reduce how often I was getting blood drawn in order to ensure my veins wouldn't collapse. I took around 16 pills a day and was still in constant pain. After about a year, I was reduced to a lower dose of all my medication and took around 10 pills a day. My infusions happened once every 4 months, and I visited the doctor every 2 months. Luckily, now I'm in remission. Remission is when the disease isn't active anymore, although it's still there. The emotional impact of lupus can be just as heavy as the physical pain. Many patients struggle with anxiety or depression because they no longer can do the things they enjoy. Treatments can also be stressful. For example, some patients may need a kidney biopsy, a procedure in which small pieces of the kidney are removed to check for damage or to replace one kidney. Thankfully, researchers are looking to find better treatments. New medications are being studied that can help calm the overreacting immune system. One experimental medicine known as TCP is designed to lower inflammation and reduce symptoms like muscle pain and extreme fatigue. Another new treatment focuses on protecting the kidneys by attacking the immune cells that cause the damage, which can help slow or prevent serious organ problems in people with lupus nephritis. CAR-T cell therapy is also being researched as a possible future treatment. This treatment uses the patient's own immune cells, retraining them so they can stop attacking the body and instead work away their cells. Lupus may be invisible, but its impact is real. Learning about this disease helps show understanding to people who are struggling and encourage research that can improve or even save lives in the future. Thank you.
number one phobia in the world. And this group of kids just overcame that fear. They've been working since January to be ready for today, and they did an amazing job. Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you all for being here. Parents and guests, y'all are welcome to stay and get a hug and a picture. Everyone else, have a great day. Thank you.
That's good.